Hello, good morning everyone. My name is Aditya Kanetkar. I am from Integrated Solutions, SWAS division, and our today's topic for webinar is Rankine cycle and thermal power plants. Rankine cycle is named after Scottish professor Mr. William Rankine, and this is the ideal thermodynamic cycle of heat engine where heat is converted into mechanical work when it goes under phase change. Rankine cycle is the most modern cycle used for a steam turbines based thermal power plant and also for reciprocating steam engine. So this is a cycle where actually uh, you know heat energy is converted into mechanical energy through the phase change. Now let's first understand basic ideal Rankine cycle before going ahead how this cycle is implemented in thermal power stations. In this Rankine cycle, boiler or steam generator acts as a heat source, whereas condenser works as a heat sink. In this particular cycle, there are total four processes. First process where water is heated and steam is generated. So there is a phase change by addition of energy, which is can be a energy from burning fuel, or it can be waste heat recovery. So water is actually feed water is heated and steam is generated. Then second process where this steam is utilized in turbine, steam turbine or any steam engine, and work output is taken. And after using this steam, third process starts where heat is rejected to cooling media through condenser, and again steam will condense to water, so there is a phase change. And fourth process where this water is again pressurized to boiler or steam generator pressure, so there is a work input. So if you see whole this process, there is a heat input in boiler or steam generator, there is a heat rejection in a condenser, work output taken from a turbine or your steam engine, and work input given to pump where uh, pressure of water is changed from one cycle point to other point. So if you plot these four processes on temperature entropy diagram, you can find such diagram on your TS chart for steam and water. Now you can see process 1 to 2, which indicates work input from a pump. So feed water pressure is increased. Okay. Process 2 to 3 actually indicates a process inside boiler. So heat is taken in, heat input is given, and there is a phase change from water phase at point 2 to the saturated steam phase at point 3. Then third process starts from point 3 to point 4, which is actually expansion of steam inside your turbine, and at this point work output is taken from a turbine, so turbine is rotated, and that is generally coupled with some generator, and work output is taken. And after at the point 4, this exhaust steam again condensed back to water in a condenser from you can see it from a process 4 to process 1. So at this point heat is rejected to cooling media and heat is taken out. So the boiler acts as a heat source where you burn fuel or you recover some waste heat recovery is there, and heat is taken into process, and which is used to change phase of water to steam. There is a heat sink from in a condenser, so from process 4 to process 1 where heat is rejected to this cooling media or atmosphere. Okay. Work output is taken from turbine and work input is given to at the pump. Now how we can calculate all these uh, outputs and inputs. If you imagine that there is a m dot, which is a mass flow rate flowing for steam and water in this cycle, then you can multiply this mass flow rate with enthalpy values at different points, and you can actually calculate actually heat input very easily. So heat input is actually enthalpy at point 3 minus enthalpy at point 2 multiplied by mass flow rate of steam and water in boiler. Then work output from turbine can be easily calculated by taking enthalpy difference at the point 4 minus point 3 multiplied by again mass flow rate within your turbine. So this will give you work output. Then heat rejected to condenser can be calculated by subtracting enthalpy at point 4 minus enthalpy at point 1 multiplied by mass flow rate, and work input to pump is nothing but enthalpy difference between point 2 to 1 multiplied by mass flow rate. These processes actually can be further explained using TS diagram, which is a temperature entropy diagram, and HS diagram, which is a enthalpy entropy diagram. HS diagram is also known as a Moliere chart. So both of these charts can be used for plotting these processes as well as understanding heat transfer and work output from these processes. So I will just explain these processes one by one. So process 1 to 2 is actually isentropic compression in your pump. As you know, you are in pump, you are increasing pressure of water from one pressure line to another pressure line. So it's an isentropic compression. There is, assuming there is no friction losses and everything. So actually it should be a straight vertical line on our TS diagram because entropy is constant, but it slightly deviates because of irreversibility. Okay. Then process 2 to process 3 is actually heat addition. So in this process, it's a constant pressure heat addition. As you know, in boiler we actually follow constant pressure line and heat is added, and then once it reaches to its saturation temperature, there is a latent heat addition and there is a phase change, and then you reach to point 3 where saturated steam is generated. Now the saturated steam is again expanded in a turbine. Again, it's an isentropic expansion. Again, it should be a straight vertical line on your graph, straight coming down from point 3 to point 4. But again, it's a irreversible process, so it slightly deviates and reach to point 4, slightly on right side. Okay, and then from point 4 to point 1 is actually straight line. It's a constant pressure heat rejection in condenser. So it's actually phase change from steam or partial steam, partial water to completely saturated liquid at point 1. So all these four processes can be easily plotted on your temperature entropy diagram or a HS chart, which is a Moliere chart. Okay, and it can be it's very easy to calculate actually these enthalpies if you know pressure and temperature at various points, either using Moliere chart or using steam table. So it is very simple to calculate all heat transfers as well as to calculate this work input and work output. So as you can see, Rankine cycle is very ideal cycle where phase change of water and steam can be utilized to take out the work using turbine or steam engine, and then we can use this work output to rotate machines as a prime mover or for prime mover for a generator and to generate electricity. Now, as this is a process which is utilized for, you know, energy generation, you are also interested in knowing efficiency of this process. Now, ideal thermal efficiency of the process can be defined as net work output divided by heat input, because heat, you are investing money to burn fuel and you are generating this heat. So heat input is our input to this process, and net work output is what we are interested in from a turbine. So if you calculate net work output is a difference between work output from turbine minus work input to the pump for increasing its pressure. So that is the difference between W dot turbine minus W dot pump. So that is the difference between both work output and work input to pump, that gives you net work output, divided by Q in, which is the heat addition in your boiler or steam generator. Okay, so this can be easily calculated by taking enthalpy differences, because m dot mass flow rate in whole process we have taken constant considering uh, closed loop process. Okay, so it can be this thermal efficiency can be easily calculated if you know enthalpy from your chart, okay, or a steam table or Moliere chart. Okay. Also, heat rate is a nothing but reciprocal of your thermal efficiency. So heat rate is heat input given for each unit of work output, net work output. So imagine if you are using some power plant. So for generating 1 megawatt, how much heat you need to add is actually indicates efficiency of your process. So overall thermal efficiency is depend on this whole process. It can be easily calculated knowing enthalpy, because as you know, water and steam is one of the most known media. We have a steam tables, we have Moliere charts, and that's why by knowing pressure, temperatures, we can plot entire Rankine cycle for your process and or your boiler and turbine, and you can actually calculate this output quite easily. So if you take an ideal Rankine cycle, it is quite easy to understand. Okay, but as I said before, uh, no cycle can be ideal in all respects. So even in Rankine cycle, as we discussed in past, process 1 to 2, which is a pumping of your feed water, supposed to be isentropic process and supposed to be straight vertical line on your TS chart, but as you can see it is slightly bends to right side. Okay, and this is mainly because of irreversibilities and inefficiencies within pump. Okay, so when you compress your water, I would say compress, but it's when you pump your water, when you increase pressure of your water, it's a water is an incompressible media. So whenever you do that, okay, there are some friction losses, there are some irreversibilities, there are some heat losses which cannot be recovered back. Okay, and that's why you can say it's a process 1 to 2, okay, where uh, pressure is increased, okay, and there are some pump efficiencies which actually plays key role and deviate this isentropic uh, process deviates slightly on the right side. Okay. Similarly, when we talk about this isentropic expansion of steam in your steam turbine, okay, ideal process should be from 3 to 4 straight perpendicular line or vertical line coming down, but it also deviates slightly at the right side because of inefficiencies, mechanical inefficiencies and other losses, thermal inefficiencies in your turbine. Okay, so always it's both process 1 to 2 and process 3 to 4 are irreversible process, and that's why they will slightly deviate. Now when you will plot actual chart for your steam and water cycle in your power plant or in your boiler, you will find chart is very similar to 1 to 2 or 3 to 4, slightly deviating from their vertical lines. As our Rankine cycle is used in power stations for generating power or generating work output, we want to make this process or cycle more and more efficient so that we can get a maximum work output through minimum heat input in your boiler. So what we can do, because uh, we want to increase work output, which can be done by increasing area under within these four processes. Okay. That, as you know, whenever we plot any cycle on temperature entropy diagram or Mollier chart, clockwise rotation of cycle like 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4 and 4 to 1 actually gives you net work output and heat is given in. So Q in is a heat input, Q out is a heat output in a your condenser sink. Okay, so we need to think how we can increase this area inside this process. By increasing this area, we can actually try to increase efficiency of our whole cycle. Now we are going to talk about real Rankine cycle adapt in various power plants and how we can increase efficiency of this cycle by making small process changes. Actually, when you use ideal Rankine cycle in power plant, generally no one like to use saturated steam in turbine. This is to increase efficiency because what happens when saturated steam enters in a turbine at point 3, okay, and when it expands at the outlet of this turbine, which is point 4, goes into wet region. Okay, it's a wet steam. And as you know, as saturated steam expand and goes through this wet region, water droplets separate, okay, and then these water droplets is just like a very high speed droplets of water striking against rotating steam turbine blades. This will reduce efficiency of your turbine as well as it will erode your turbine blades and can damage your blades. Okay, and because of these, most of the time it is preferred to use steam turbines with a superheated steam, because in this case if you take a process 3 dash and 4 dash, which is a superheated steam, so when you put a superheated steam at the inlet of your turbine, it expands, and during it expansion, because of irreversibility, it slightly moves to right side and it never crosses your saturated steam line, and that's why there will not be a separation of water droplets, and in such cases your turbine and life will improve. So here you can see two photographs. So you can see on the left side a new turbine with a very highly polished and well profiled steam turbine blades, and if there is a water carryover or there is a carryover of water droplets into this turbine, there can be huge damage. You can see some of the photographs where turbine blades are actually eroded like a shot blasting, and that's why it is always recommended whenever you are using steam turbine, we should have a superheated steam at the inlet of steam turbine. Okay, so this is a in most of the cases, particularly in large thermal power stations and also in captive power plants, people use steam turbines, which is a superheated steam turbines and which are quite efficient in operation. And that's why in most of the plants where Rankine cycle is utilized for power generation, generally steam is heated further in a boiler. So after reaching to point 3 at a saturated steam, steam is further heated to point 3 dash to superheated region, and this addition of heat doesn't goes waste. It also yields additional work output because we are reaching from higher uh, point 3 dash to 4 dash. Okay, this is a dark blue color area is a additional area. So whatever heat you are adding is actually also helping us to increase work output and overall efficiency of the power plant. Now, second way to increase thermal efficiency is by decreasing condenser pressure. So, in most of the power plant, condensers are maintained in the vacuum. That's why you will get an additional this dark blue strip which I have indicated. This is the additional work output from a turbine. But at the same time, there will be slightly more work input to your pump also. So if you keep decreasing your condenser pressures, okay, your efficiency will increasing, but at certain point it will not increase further. Okay, you will reach to the maximum efficiency point by decreasing pressure of condenser. Now, second challenge in decreasing condenser pressure, as you decrease condenser pressure, your condensing temperature also decreases because in condenser we have a saturated temperature line. So 4 to 1 is a whole removal of latent heat from your condenser. Your steam outlet from a turbine is getting condensed to water at point 1, and that's why cooling media temperature also is very important factor to maintain your condenser vacuum and to keep your plant efficient. If your cooling in condenser is not properly done, okay, you cannot get a required pressure and temperature line, and in that case you will lose efficiency of your plant. So how condensers look like in power plant? Generally, these uh, turbine condensers are located below your LP turbine casing. So after using steam in your LP turbine, that goes out in a condenser, which is like a big heat exchanger below your condenser. So here is an example of water-cooled condenser where steam is coming from a top at the outlet from your turbine, goes down in a condenser. In condenser, we have lot of tube bundles. In these tubes, we are pumping cooling water from your cooling towers. Okay, and that's how your steam is condensed down and then pumped back into feed water system. And that's why these condensers plays key important role to maintain vacuum and efficiency of your Rankine cycle. So whenever sufficient cooling water is not available, people cannot use water cooled condensers, and that's why nowadays air cooled condensers are also become very popular, where steam is actually condensed using atmospheric air by putting large fan and large air cooled condensers like shown in photograph, and in such cases heat is directly rejected to atmosphere without using cooling media like a cooling water. Now if we increase pressure of the boiler, okay, so instead of following lower pressure line, if we can follow high pressure line while generating steam, we can get a additional dark blue area which can increase efficiency. Okay, so in this case, larger feed water pumps are used, and pressure of feed water can be increased from point 2 to point 2 dash. And in many cases nowadays, you must have heard about supercritical boiler, where pressures are increased beyond critical point, like more than 215 bar, and in such cases we get an additional work output from a turbine. But in these such cases we face a second challenge, that in such cases after expansion in turbine, outlet steam will become wet steam. So we are crossing our saturated steam line, and in such cases we will lose a large area which is shown in red color as a work output. So just by increasing pressure of a steam generator is not sufficient to increase efficiency in Rankine cycle. So this challenge can be overcome by introduction of reheater. So what we do in most of the high pressure supercritical boiler based power plants, we are not only increasing pressure of feed water in a boiler, we are also introducing reheater. So how reheater works, I will just try to explain. So what we do, we increase pressure of feed water and we follow higher pressure line. In this case, like a supercritical boiler, pressure line will be above 250, sometimes 260 or even 300 bar. So this high pressure line will take us to point of around 600 degrees Celsius of superheated steam. Okay. Now this steam is passed through HP turbine casing, and after using it in HP turbine, before it crosses saturated steam line, this steam is taken out from this HP turbine. This is also called as a cold reheat steam. This steam is taken back to boiler and then again reheated using reheaters, and then this hot reheat steam is passed through IP and LP turbine. Okay, so that outlet of this LP turbine will never cross a saturated line. So okay, so by doing introduction of reheater and increasing pressure of the boiler, by doing both of these together, we could increase efficiency of thermal efficiency of the power plant quite well. In most of the modern power plant, feed water is heated in a multiple stages. So at the point 1, it's a condensate outflow from condenser. So we use first pump, which is a condensate extraction pump, which increases pressure from point 1 to point 2. After increasing this pressure, this whole feed water or hot condensate plus DM makeup water is passed through LP heaters. So in LP heater and deaerator, it you can see process 2 to 3 on a second graph. After reaching at point 3, water is pumped using large boiler feed pumps, BFPs, boiler feed pumps, and then pressure is increased from point 3 to point 4. Okay, and then again heat is added at this higher pressure using HP heaters and economizers. Okay, and that's how efficiency is improved by adding heat in stages, and in economizer we also use heat of outgoing gases and try to use that also to increase the efficiency of your plant. Now I would like to take few examples to understand how all these different ways to increase efficiency are implemented in modern thermal power plants. So most of the modern thermal power plants implement all these different ways to increase efficiency, thermal efficiency of Rankine cycle. So I will just show you from this typical diagram. So you can see we have introduced superheater, which ensures that steam is further heated in a superheated region before using in a HP turbine. You can also see reheater. So steam is taken out from a HP turbine, cold reheat steam, and taken into reheater to reheat, and this reheated steam, hot reheat steam, is used in a IP and LP turbine casing. Okay, you can see condenser. Okay, so condenser generally maintained under vacuum, and where steam outlet from a LP turbine casing is condensed back and fed back using condensate extraction pump. Also, you can see that LP heater, deaerator, HP heater and economizers are introduced, which ensures that heat is added in steps, and pressure is also increased in steps to ensure that all heat is recovered and used for converting into power. So let me give you different type of thermal power plants and how Rankine cycle is implemented. I will take a first example of supercritical boilers. Now most of these supercritical boilers are used whenever you are using some coal fired or oil fired plants to generate steam. Okay, so in such power plants, feed water pressure is increased beyond critical point. So it's above uh, 210 bar, which is the critical point. So that pressure is increased in feed water. Okay, and then after HP heater, economizer, evaporator, and multiple superheaters, superheated steam is given to HP turbine. After using in a HP turbine, steam is taken out and reheated. After reheating, this steam is used in a IP turbine. Outlet of IP turbine is connected to LP turbine, and LP turbine outlet is directly going to condenser below it, where steam is condensed back to pure condensate, and then this condensate is used or pumped back using condensate extraction pumps into feed water system, and this cycle is recirculated. So this is the ideal example of implementation of all efficiency improvement aspects of in a Rankine cycle, and how those are utilized in modern thermal power plants. Also, there are many power plants which use multiple cycles. So I will just use example of combined cycle power plants. So in combined cycle power plants, two or more cycles are combined. Okay, one can be a different type of cycle, and second is a Rankine cycle for steam and water. So you can take example of photograph below, where Brayton cycle is combined with a Rankine cycle. So in such kind of power plants, actually air is used as a working media in this first Brayton cycle. So air is compressed, then then fuel is used like natural gas or crude oil gas or different type of gases are used in a combustion chamber, and then after that gas turbine is used, and which gives you work output from a Brayton cycle. Now exhaust of this gas turbine is used in a unfired boilers like a heat recovery boilers, and then steam is generated, and then this steam is used on a steam turbine, and then it becomes a Rankine cycle. So in combined cycle power plant there are two cycles, one where it's a Brayton cycle where working media is air, and second is a Rankine cycle where working media is water and steam. Okay, so both of these type of cycles are also implemented in combined cycle power plants. So I will show you combined cycle power plants typically. So in modern days, as I said in earlier slide, two cycles are combined to increase efficiency of both cycles. Now cycles like a Brayton cycle has a less thermal efficiency, and outlet from a gas turbine is quite hot gases. Those hot gases are taken to the heat recovery boiler as shown on a right side photograph, and in this heat recovery boiler feed water is given through pumps and it is heated into superheated steam. Then this superheated steam, generally they have a multi pressure boiler, so they generate HP, IP and LP superheated steam, and this steam is then used in HP and LP turbines. Okay, and then this is nothing but Rankine cycle. So by combining a highly efficient Rankine cycle with Brayton cycle, overall efficiency of plant is also increased. Also, there is no wastage of heat from a gas turbine, which becomes more cleaner as well as at the same time more efficient power plant. Now, even in nuclear power plant, cycle which is implemented is a Rankine cycle. So in nuclear reactor, generally there are different type of nuclear reactor. I will not go into more details of uh, actual nuclear reactor parts and types. But generally in nuclear reactor, there is a fluid like a heavy water or light water which is heated using nuclear reaction, and this hot high pressure water is used to generate steam in heat exchangers. So there are two circuits. Primary circuit is heavy water or light water which is directly in contact with nuclear fuel which is heated at very high pressure, and then this hot fluid is used to heat DM quality water from a feed pumps, which actually becomes a Rankine cycle. So even in nuclear power plant, same Rankine cycle is implemented. So hopefully after this webinar, I could explain you basic Rankine cycle, ideal Rankine cycle, different ways to improve efficiency of this Rankine cycle, and how this Rankine cycle is implemented in modern thermal power plants. So if you have any more questions, you can ask these questions, or you can add any other inputs you want us to add in our presentation. Thank you so much. Over to you.